There's no greater weapon than a beautiful idea unchallenged. It spreads through screens and symbols. It grows through cryptic dreams. It infects the young first, then the desperate, then the brilliant. The ideological birth of a code, and when the world cannot explain the art, it bows to the artist. Not all vision is prophecy, not all madness is divine, but these shadows are forever cast upon us by forces older than the lands themselves. When the light is swallowed by that realm of doom, even the skeptics begin to pray. Welcome to the City of Gods.
Rain hammered upon the roof of Stephen's dormitory as he scribbled impatiently on a blank page. He had been going through a creative rough patch. Nothing seemed to push him past the thick wall of frustration. His inspiration ran dry amid his studies, leaving him to stare at half-baked illustrations of a character he barely remembered sketching the week before. The pencil in his hand twitched again, dragging a faint, meaningless line across the paper. He exhaled sharply, then quietly. Leaning back in his chair, he turned to look out the window. Outside, lightning cracked the sky in half, casting his cluttered desk into momentary brilliance before plunging it back into shadow. Stephen blinked at the page. Still nothing. He hated this part. The part before the idea. The part where the silence screamed. Stephen's annoyance at his own mental hurdle has caused him great distress. Creating art was integral to his life. It was what motivated him to get up in the morning. The idea of conveying a part of himself that no one else would ever get to see. A piece of his identity locked away beneath years of trauma, forcibly evolved by years of exposure to a stark truth. Stephen's torment materialized in his work through recurring motifs and creatures drawn from the ink of the tear shed. The craft was akin to an exorcism of the self, with each brushstroke on the canvas. But the worst part was that no one else could view those things the way in which he did. Beauty was to remain in the eyes of the beholder, no matter how impossible. Every work of his prior to that night had some reference to a great maw, a gash of razors and viscera emerging from the mouth of a maddened god. He had always used it in a thematic sequence, but he wasn't fully aware of what it meant to him. In and among the complicated flowchart of his certainties, he arrived lost upon the fact that it was the cornerstone of his signature. The symbolism would escape him, but the pattern would continue. Though he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his life, he clung to an overarching dream of being a celebrated artist one day, to hold a gallery of his own where people would admire his work. He wanted his art to be studied years after his death. It wasn't merely that he lived and breathed for this as a hobby. He wanted to outlive him, to cement his legacy as one of the greats. Another crack of thunder snapped him out of his daydreaming. He admired the rain once more before putting aside his pencil and paper and heading to bed for the night. Just one floor above, two students watched a movie, relaxed after finishing their coursework for the week. The characters on screen babbled about destiny and their responsibility to subvert fate. Alexia was one of the two students.
Hey, can you pause it? Need to use the bathroom.
She asked. The other student, Harper, picked up the remote and paused the movie.
Hey, while you're up, could you grab me a bottle of tea from the fridge?
She asked.
Yeah, no problem.
Alexia and Harper came to be friends during orientation because they sat nearby one another during the event. After talking about common interests, they began to hang out frequently when they had the time. After a while, Alexia offered to share a dorm with Harper for the purpose of convenience. Harper studied science with a keen fascination in chemistry. On the other hand, Alexia studied liberal arts with her interests centering around literature. The two of them didn't have many overlapping interests, but all was well for the time being. Getting back from the kitchen, Alexia handed Harper her drink and sat back down to watch the movie. Beneath them, Stephen wrestled with an unpleasant dream amid his slumber. A deserted cruise ship lost at sea, not even the faintest hint of a fellow passenger. Every call out to would-be passengers only confirmed to him that he was somehow alone on this voyage. Exploring its lengths, he would merely grow more concerned. belongings were left behind, clothes thrown around, personal items, even shoes. And somehow, there was no sign of any struggle, not a single spatter of blood. No deployed lifeboats to corroborate evidence that there was a drill going on. When he looked down where the ship was headed, he saw only a dark horizon locked by storms ahead. All that stood between him and that awful place was a curious line that hovered in front of the ship, nearly blending in with the dreary skyline. Not sure what exactly he was seeing, he blinked rapidly to make sure it wasn't some optical illusion. Each blink brought the same, conflicting image back to his attention. On the final blink, however, the line was suddenly a pair of lips that softly hummed the shanty of long-dead travelers. It was a mournful tune with an unforgiving melody.
Hello? What is this? What's going on? What are you?
Stephen called out, backing up against a nearby wall. The humming immediately stopped. The lips frowned and slowly opened to reveal a mouth of orderly white teeth.
So many paths to take, yet they all lead to a singular point.
The voice murmured.
I don't know if there's somehow a conspiracy from everyone on this boat to prank me, but I get it. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Before the words even left his mouth, he recognized the absurdity of the situation. It'd be a pretty gnarly prank to slip one guy hallucinogens. And besides that, why him?
You are lost. You need a force to believe in. I think the world needs a force to tear down its innumerable walls. I believe there's a deal to be made.
It argued.
I'm lost?
Go forth. Show them.
What am I supposed to...
Stephen was about to inquire when he was abruptly awakened by his alarm ringing at the bedside. The thunder from the night before had all but resolved into calm rainfall as the morning classes began for the day. Droplets pattered gently on the umbrella as Alexia and Harper strolled across the soaked brick path. Students weaved around them, their footsteps muffled by puddles and damp leaves. The air was cool, the kind that made you tuck your chin into your hoodie without really giving it a second thought.
I swear, this campus has like 2 settings, heat wave or drowned rat.
Well, pick your poison. At least the rain makes it poetic.
Harper laughs.
Yeah, unless you're the one wearing white sneakers. Seems like mine are already joining the dark side.
Tragic. A scholar cut down in her prime by campus fashion.
I will haunt this quad.
Hey, have you picked a topic for that literature essay yet?
Alexia asked.
Sort of. I'm torn between focusing on tragedy with a few niche readings or just sticking with one of the guided prompts. I'm doing mine on romantic irony because I hate myself apparently.
Alexia smirked.
You're gonna crush it. Can't think of a bad paper you've written.
Harper looked thoughtfully ahead as she passed by a damp bench surrounded by piles of leaves. A squirrel rustled nearby, scaring itself in the process.
You ever get that feeling like everything's finally setting in? Like the college rhythm is real now?
I guess I get that feeling sometimes. The first couple of weeks felt like an awkward fever dream, but now that we're living it, it ain't too bad.
Want to stop by the food court? I could go for a hot drink right about now.
Only if we can sit by the window. I want to watch everyone else get caught without umbrellas.
Alexia quipped.
I got time before class.
Oh, you're evil.
No, I'm a writer.
Stephen, in his solitude, elected to skip his lectures for the day in favor of pursuing a growing creative itch. The dream from the night prior had begun to slowly chew away at his art block that plagued him for weeks. The images from his dream stuck to him like gum to the underside of a desk. The light of the mouth hovering above the ship, an encroaching gray-blue sky, emptiness watching from around dark corners in the abandoned vessel. Thoughts entered his mind in a great flood stemming from the cryptic words off of the mythic tongue. To go forth, to make a deal, to believe in a force. The force in his mind was without shape. It loomed like the burden of eventual demise on a horizon that yearned for sacrifice. Yes, he could see it. A faceless overlord from beyond the frame, over the boundary of a mirror's precipice. In a sudden burst of movement, he quickly rushed to grab his sketchpad. Stephen's hands worked with mechanical urgency, dragging the pencil in sharp, deliberate motions as if his fingertips had become conduits for something exceeding thought. It was almost like he didn't think about it. He transcribed the vision as it was delivered to him. The lips from the dream took shape with jagged angles and a murderous smile, wide with an unhinged jaw, and black like murky twilight waters. The lips belonged to a towering form of glitching proportions. It was hard to decipher exactly what was coming to mind, but the rendition he was able to execute was an utterly repulsive beast of malintent. Stephen paused, his breath caught, his fingers trembled, but it wasn't even that he was tired. The feeling rang clearer as noticing someone staring at you in a crowd before you worked up the courage to turn around. He flipped the page. He once more drew the being, except now it was garnered in wires and gauze, face obscured by what looked like a cracked mask. It stood in the halls of the ship, gazing into a mirror that held no reflection. Stephen scratched a title onto the bottom right corner of the page in small, rushed lettering. It read very simply,
The Seer.
Sitting back, admiration grew as a warm feeling in his chest. Something was changing within him, an unparalleled drive to create. The day droned on for everyone else while he was seemingly driven to continue producing visions of the seer in various places and poses. As night once more fell upon the campus and the streetlights outside compensated for their encroaching shadow, he reflected upon the day's work. His process felt so pure to him that even the thought of doing homework after was bothersome. Why put a damper on a day of such radical progress? After all, it was by far the most he'd gotten done in weeks. He ruminated on the sights, the meaning of breaking down a world of walls with the force to believe in. And with the calling of slumber, Stephen gave in once more to his exhaustion. Alexia merely chugged on, while her job and the litany of assignments only succeeded in motivating her to pull her own hair out. In between it all, she had little time left for her own leisure. The time that remained was wasted doom-scrolling social media after the day was over. She found little to no purpose in what she did, either. The future was a dreary path forward, blackened with uncertainty. The only reason she found herself in her studies was because her parents wished for her to do something more. She had nothing carrying her forward other than her parents' needs. Harper, on the other hand, had a powerful sense of purpose that carried her forward to her goals. It wasn't that she was perfectly content. After all, nothing could be perfect. The only thing she really wanted to rely on was consistent certainty. Her philosophy was that all would work out the way it should as long as she moved forward with pure intent. As their day rounded to a close, they sat on a nearby bench to appreciate the fading daylight. Silence prevailed even as the other students passed in twos and threes, scattering leaves under their shoes. A nearby lamppost buzzed faintly, its light not quite needed yet, but flickering to life anyway. Alexia hugged her knees to her chest, appreciating the colors of the dimming atmosphere.
What do you think this all is?
Harper raised an eyebrow, glancing over to her.
This?
Life. Waking up, doing work, going to bed. Why is all of this a thing?
Depends on who you ask. I'm usually a fence sitter when it comes to God and creation and religious mumbo jumbo. I'm not fully convinced, but it's a comforting idea.
Alexia breathed and looked at Harper.
I don't think I believe in anything.
After a moment of perfect quiet, Harper murmured,
It's not a bad place to start.
Isn't it though? Even by my own admission, that is pessimistic.
Harper thoughtfully replied.
Not necessarily.
She still gazed upon the sky as it shifted from pale gold to deep blue and purple shades.
Sometimes belief can just be noticing. Noticing that you felt something different when somebody said the right thing, or when a song hit the exact part of your chest you forgot was sore.
Alexia didn't answer, but her eyes softened, just a little.
I don't think I need things to be true.
Harper added.
I just need the implications to move me.
The wind nudged through the trees like a whisper. Alexia exhaled slowly, curling her fingers into the fabric of her sleeves.
It scares me sometimes, how little I think anything matters.
That's okay. Meaning doesn't always arrive in big gestures. Sometimes it just taps you on the shoulder.
They sat together a while longer, quiet again. The streetlight was stronger now. It cast a long shadow that stretched behind them, drawing their silhouettes across an empty sidewalk. Two figures sharing one fading beam. In a perplexing state of slumber, Stephen once more found himself on the deserted cruise ship. A nightfall besieged the ocean, casting it in an inky black veil. Dread raised the hairs on his spine as he traversed the desolate halls in the impenetrable gloom. The darkness was so thick and oppressive that he could not see his hands in front of his face, nor the figures that lurked around the forgotten corners. They were replicated versions of the beasts he drew so incessantly in the prior day, gangly forms that bent and twisted in directions cruel to human anatomy. They were being draped in rags and painful wires that dug into ashen flesh. Blissfully unaware of their presence, he warily stumbled forth to the front end of the vessel, where he previously encountered the talking mouth, the peculiar vision of floating lips, the insistence of a deal. Braving the sight to behold, Stephen opened the door to the deck, glimpsing the maw in a new, spine-chilling evolution. There it was, smiling as if it held knowledge he couldn't dream of. The night sky was devoid of all light, no moon, no stars, except for two that were positioned just above the wicked grin of the entity. It gazed upon him, beaming with incomprehensible suns and teeth that were misaligned, jagged, hideous.
I do hope you've given some consideration to our deal, fleshy one.
I don't know what you want me to do.
Stephen stammered anxiously.
I drew monstrosities crafted from my nightmares. I drew versions of them from this ship. If this is a dream, why am I brought back here?
The jaws let out an ugly laugh before it continued.
Your sketches are a noble step in the journey you are destined for. Though, compared to what you will become, these things are minuscule. You will not merely draw beasts. You will paint over the canvas of creation itself. You will carry a new purpose. You will herald a new dawn.
Who? No. What are you? What must I do?
You will refer to me as Lord Aorian. And as for my command, take your measly abominations and show them to the world. Make them see the first light of tomorrow's possibilities. The endless temple is coming, and you will be the one to open the gates. Go forth.
The two stars grew blinding, forcing Stephen to cover his eyes and turn out of fright. As he opened his eyes, he glimpsed the horrors of his own creation glaring at him from the windows, peering out from doorways, carving holes into his eyes from their hiding places, now illuminated by Azorion's power. He snapped awake in bed, panting and marinated with his own sweat. No longer could he hide from the cryptic truth. There was so much more at play than anyone else could hope to know. The skeptics would deny reality, and the saintly would mistake the arrival for devilry. But he knew his mission, and there was no going back. Stephen spent the following day madly preparing for his next move, the emergence, announcing his artistic voice to the world. Waiting around until students left and the halls were silent, he wandered to the library printers and began Phase 1. He also purchased supplies for a new facet of his craft, an evolution from one means to another. Then came the digital establishment. He created profiles across all social media platforms under the moniker The Herald. With this newfound outreach, he planned to drip feed his creations day by day, commanding the algorithm to bend to his will. By the time the morning sun rose to banish twilight, all of the library printers were completely empty of paper. The staff rushed to refill them, but they very quickly ran into a problem. All of it, every last sheet, from their entire supply, was gone, as if the facility never had paper at all. It was a brand new day. Usual functions resumed as they normally tended to do. Out on another daily stroll across campus to go to class, Harper and Alexia stepped out confidently, but couldn't help feel that something was amiss. Even the air felt heavier, thick with something perhaps unseen. It wouldn't take long to uncover why. A sense of confusion rode the wind, starkly contrasting the usual laid-back energy of the walkways. Art prints of unsettling figures were taped, stapled, even glued to random places all around campus. They were depictions of spindly humanoids with gnashing teeth and bloody orifices for eye sockets. Many of them were garnered in apparel meant to give the illusion of holiness. They were demigods, life forms bred of suffering that lived and died by the sword. Upon closer inspection of the papers, they were all marked with 5 words crowning the top, an offering from the Herald. Emails were sent out by the university in attempts to soothe out many of the growing concerns voiced by the students. They assured that they would investigate to determine what happened and why someone would even go to such lengths. As the rest of the people in the surrounding area went about their lives, they too had noticed the strange art prints. Somehow, they were plastered all over town. Some people had even found them in their mailboxes. This fostered an atmosphere of deep uncertainty. Reports flooded in to the police, who said they would investigate in collaboration with the university, given that the paper had come from their campus and there seemed to be at least something of a correlation to be found. However, the police weren't fully convinced that there was reason to suspect wrongdoing. It seemed far more likely to the officers involved that this was merely some publicity stunt, a marketing campaign meant to start conversations. That said, Harper was taken back by the whole situation.
You're not seriously entertained by all this, are you?
Alexia asked.
Why not? I'm sure we're seeing the same thing. I know you feel it too. The air is different. It's almost like feeling watched.
Alexia shrugged.
Doesn't mean it's real. It just means people are good at starting rumors.
Harper couldn't shake it though.
Sure, but an offering from the Herald? On every single sketch? For what must be thousands of sheets of paper? That's not random, and I know you know that.
Screams aggressive marketing to me. Guerrilla tactics, as they might call it in the business. Could be for some upcoming horror movie. Or maybe it's some cult zine. There's a podcast for everything. Wouldn't be surprised if there's some media attached to it.
The girls took a moment to reflect as they continued on their walk.
You sound like you're hoping for it to be something meaningful.
Maybe I am.
She replied with a sigh.
I mean, it's not like belief at its most basic level ever hurt anyone. And I did say before it could just be noticing something. Well, we all saw with our own eyes, did we not?
I think there's a difference between believing in Jesus and putting up crosses on every conceivable surface. I don't know if this is an entry-level religious thing.
What if it really is bigger than us? What if this is some kind of communication through symbolism? I mean, the Herald has to be something, right? Something ancient or sacred. Maybe it wasn't really meant to scare us, but to prepare us.
Alexia rolled her eyes.
Oh yeah? Like what? Aliens? The Rapture?
Harper ignored the sarcasm.
Probably for some big reveal or change. I don't know. Nobody knows. I'm just saying, it feels larger than life.
Sure it does, but you're only saying that because of the symbolism and the unknown factor of it all. Once something is bathed in the light of truth, its mysticism fades entirely. People are going to forget about this thing in a month.
The rumors only grew in intensity when people began to notice the social media presence of the supposed Herald. The profile had no profile picture, and in the bio, there was only a string of characters that would later be dubbed the Azorion cipher. It seemed to be a code. It would take some considerable time to understand, but interest only swelled from there. After weeks of festering dread, The phenomenon was brought to an absurd new context. Influencers from outside their small town took notice of the sprawling mystery. It seemed like harmless journalism at first. These internet personalities were curious and had a genuine desire to reach some logical answer. But there were others that needlessly sensationalized it. Someone claimed that when they copied the code to their bio, they had a dream that night of an infinite city of beautiful horror. So naturally, it became a trend. Every podcast guru with a microphone knew something no one else did. A new revelation every week about the purpose of the herald, the symbolism of the creatures. Stephen's plan worked with mortifying efficiency. With paranoia becoming inescapable, he had enslaved the mind of the common man. He enraptured the artists, for they began to draw their own visions of the anomalies he gave rise to. The apprehension of their town was vastly overshadowed by the internet's treatment of it as some quirky meme with a growing fandom of artists. No one outside could possibly comprehend just how on edge the residents were. On a fateful winter night, it stopped being a joke without a punchline. Lines were crossed, reports trickled into the police of sightings, jittering silhouettes stalking the streets under a pale moon, cloaked figures violently shaking in and around the streetlights. Others reported strangers tapping on their windows and hushed whispers coming from just outside. All at once, it seemed as though the town was overrun by shadowy forces that freely roamed with the coming of dusk. As a result, the residents were advised to not leave their homes after nightfall. The university would hold all of its classes online until the situation was dealt with. And still, the conversation surrounding these events from the outside world was still blissfully ignorant. Inspired individuals still cultivated art and offerings to the herald, and Stephen watched his work unfold with a smile. In spite of the chaos, Alexia and Harper tried to live as though nothing changed. They still got coffee at the same shop, still took turns complaining about professors, still texted about weird dreams, and what outfit went best with the dread. On one quiet afternoon, as the sun barely pushed through the clouds, Harper sipped her drink and glanced at her phone, picking it up so she could text Alexia.
So I've been talking to a guy.
She typed.
Oh, do spill the tea.
His name's Steven.
Interesting. A real person or just another cryptid from the forums?
Real, I'm sure. I think so anyway. I don't know, we just click.
Well, you better keep me updated on him. I'm curious to see how long this one lasts.
Harper laughed, leaving a heart emoji over Alexia's message before putting her phone back down. Alexia thought nothing of it. The name didn't register, and why would it? People were trying to move on, at least as best as they could. They craved normalcy, and even under normal circumstances, she would have supported her best friend. That night, Harper was pulled into a twisting dreamscape. Slumber came swift and with purpose. It materialized as a dimly lit city adorned with brutalist architecture and archaic runes carved into stone walls. An empire of glass skyscrapers lay beyond kingdoms of rotted cathedrals and brick office buildings. Along the avenues of decaying grandeur, mysterious orbs of light wafted between pillars of the infrastructure and sauntered off to chambers unseen. Harper, in her bewilderment, stumbled forth in vague awareness of the surrounding landscape. The sky overhead was filled with a pale, empty light that knew no heavens or angels. It merely stretched into imperceptible oblivion while the cloaked figures with burning bright eyes shuffled on below. Her breath caught sharp in her mouth as one man stood out from the rest of the entities walking by. A black robe with white trim danced along the breeze, donned by Stephen with a gentle grin etched into his face. Extending his hand, he spoke.
Come, Harper. We have much to discover.
What is this place?
A dark look entered his expression as a glint of vibrant energy shimmered behind his eyes.
This is the city of gods, and this is the new canvas of all things.
The other figures walking the street had abruptly halted and stopped to stare at them as she took his hand.
Where will we go?
Wherever the brushstrokes take us, wherever creation expands beyond God's will at our hands, We have so many things to bear witness to.
Stephen was lost in his own sequence as they walked side by side, hand in hand. A dream within a dream, collapsing in on itself at the hands of Lord Aorian. Visions flooded Stephen's mind. Azorion had taken full shape, a tower of limbs that wielded light akin to the might of a singularity swallowing suns. The maw of this god, it levitated in the air above a non-existent throat, and the stars of its eyes had multiplied. Azorion was an arachnid beast of severed appendages and divine pillars fused together.
All is going according to plan, Harbinger.
Azorion declared. Stephen, now kneeling on the deck of the forlorn cruise ship, lowered his head.
Thank you, my lord.
Do you know what the best part of this is, human?
What is it, your majesty?
Because of the work you have done, the people believe there are impostors among them. I've not yet lifted a finger. I have not even sent a single creature under my commands to infiltrate your planet. These weaklings, they cry wolf when the wolf doesn't even exist in their ecosystem. Comedic, is it not?
A laugh escaped Stephen's lips as he lifted his face to smile up at the god before him.
Your praise forces me to be humble, for it was you that lifted me from my stupor.
Alas, your work is not finished. You will build a portal to the city using blood spilled by the innocent. You will further expand your outreach, and then once the vision is seen by all, you will give a face to the cause, a name to cement the movement. This age will be yours for all time if you but heed my words.
I will take your commands for scripture, my liege.
Stephen said, bowing his head once more.
Then listen closely, disciple.
The monstrosity knelt down and brought the constellations of its eyes nearly level with Stephen's.
When love joins the cohorts of madness, the fabric of reality is torn apart. Remember that.
Stephen's perception shifted back to the warped streets of the holy metropolis with Harper's arm tucked around his. Behind them marched an army of cultists, their eyes pulsating a glorious light. To Harper, this was merely some fantastical dream, but to him, it was the next step in his plan to subvert destiny, to reshape the flowing stream of time so that it conformed and submitted to his will. Stephen smiled, looking northward to the fluctuating skies. Dominating its rhythmic sway were black spires reaching without end to realms unknowable.
You ask what our fate is? You wonder where we will go? Together, we will reach the spires.
Tears welled in Harper's eyes, and her jaw dropped in utter reverence.
They're incredible.
Their stroll was temporarily halted as she struggled to compose herself. The sight of the impossible magnitude, the potential for all the glory to be found within. The emotions within her swirled and intoxicated her bloodstream, as though she were addicted to the very idea. The dorm room was pitch black by the time Alexia arrived. Despite the warnings that had plagued the area for over a month, she took her time getting back. Having gone on a walk to clear her head as day drew to an end, she did find it rather odd that there were no lights on. After all, winter was wrapping its frightful embrace around the shivering town, so it would have been fairly early to go to bed. As she turned on the light, she realized something else that was strange. All of Harper's items were left as they were from earlier. Even her phone sat on the table where before she had been glued to it. Scanning the rest of the room, there was no sign that she was there at all. She tried to wrap her head around it, but Harper just wasn't there. Then she had the idea to text her group chat to see if anyone else might be having her over for the night. Nobody else knew anything. All of the growing questions in her head were rudely interrupted as she noticed one last thing next to the phone and wallet on the table. A note reading very simply,
To the endless temple shall I roam.
Sometimes it is not light that banishes the power of mystery from the lack of knowledge. It occurs in an inverse sense. Mysticism will always absorb clarity and plunge all else into hysteria. It is cast upon us by nature and held down by the limit of what we can perceive. Fear is a powerful tool of submission. Madness is the consequence of abandoning our structures. Those who already wish to believe will fancy it to be the truth. But even the skeptics will kneel when the heavens are swallowed. The city of gods is satiated for now, but it shall return to consume greater things.